What's up, y'all? This is Henny. And listen, today I gotta speak directly to my songwriters, directly to my producers, because I know there's a lot of you out there who have been hearing stories about new laws coming into play, whether it's the Music Modernization Act or new stories coming out talking about Spotify and Amazon suing songwriters. We gotta get to the bottom of this. We gotta understand what's going on in the producer, songwriter, creator aspect and how we can stay on top of this and exactly what the hell is going on. Y'all know I gotta come to y'all straight because this is why I do what I do. If you don't know exactly what's going on, let me be the one to inform you so that we can get a little bit more knowledge on what's going on and how we can protect ourselves, or at least look to the future and see what is going on and how can we get our paper. Let's go!
The business.
So yeah, I've been in the music industry for quite a while, and I've seen everything change from the creative aspect when it was very analog, dealing with everything from when I came in, ADATs, tape machines still, you're just using big keyboards, big rack modules, a lot of analog gear to make what you have going. And that was, the late 90s, early 2000s, all the way up until it started to change to digital. And people like my man Ninth Wonder came in and messed up the game for producers in the hip hop community, making music off of a laptop, all the way till when CDs started to fade out and iTunes and, digital platforms started to roll in. And then now, what we have with streaming and the major streaming sites. All of that has been major changes in the music industry, but if you think about it, it really hasn't been that much time. We're talking about a 10 to 15 year time that's completely changed the way we create, distribute, and make money from, our careers. And so the other day, I saw an article come out, or really I started to see a hashtag, and it said, it was wild. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I looked into it. It said that Spotify was suing songwriters for, well, man, I started to get into a whole news reporter movement. Let me get back to me. It said Spotify and Amazon was suing songwriters. Like, what the hell was going on? And so this was published on March 7th. And let me read you what is happening from an article from Music Business Worldwide. And let me take you on and let you at least get an understanding of what's happening. But first, let me go back and tell y'all a little bit about the Music Modernization Act and what that means to songwriters, music publishers, creators in general. So the Music Modernization Act is an act by publishers that administers the mechanical licensing of compositions streamed on services like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon Music. We call them DSPs, or digital service providers. It changes the procedure by which millions of songs are made available for streaming on those services and limits the liability a service can incur if it adheres to the new process. It funds the creation of a comprehensive database with buy-in from all the major publishers and digital service providers. This would be the first of its kind that has an active participation from major publishers representing a vast majority of musical works. It also creates a new evidentiary standard by which the performing rights organizations like ASCAP and BMI or CSAC can argue better rates for the performance and musical works on DSPs. So what the hell does that mean? This was a bill that was signed into law October 11th, 2018. And what it does is, it first and foremost gives songwriters and artists the ability to receive royalties from songs prior to like 1972. So before, any song before 1972 weren't receiving royalties. So that's one of the first things that it does. But second, the Music Modernization Act will improve how songwriters are paid by streaming services with a single mechanical license database overseen by music publishers and songwriters. So right now, if you don't understand how like music producers, songwriters, artists of the like are getting paid by these digital service providers, it's basically every service provider has their own rate. Right? Where Apple Music pays people a certain rate, Tidal pays a certain rate, Spotify a certain rate, and so on. And so what the Music Modernization Act is going to create a single mechanical license and a database to oversee how all this music is being paid out through royalties. And so that went into act in October, right? And for years, people like the Recording Academy, major music publishers, artists of the like have been trying to champion this bill to go into law so that we can get better rates for those who are starting to get in the industry and better royalties for those who've been in the industry and are not getting paid. That leads us to a few days ago, March 7th, where we got an article come out that 4 major owners of digital music services, Spotify, Amazon, Google, and Pandora, had lodged appeals against the U.S. Copyright Board's recent decision to hike up songwriters and publishers' streaming royalties by 44%. So, for us music creators, a 44% increase in our rates would help us tremendously, right? We're always saying the songwriters, the producers, those on the creative end have always been getting, the lowest amount, the smallest amount when it comes to getting their royalties. The U.S. Copyright Royalty Board decided to raise that percentage up by 44%. And immediately, 4 of the major digital service providers wanted to appeal it. Basically, in a sense, suing songwriters. And that has everybody like, yo, what the hell? I mean, we've been trying so hard to get the rates that we deserve, to get the royalties that we deserve. And you got to understand, when it comes to these digital service providers, they're fighting neck and neck to try to make sure that they, get good revenues as well. So where does that leave the songwriters and where does that leave these digital service providers? In contrast, Apple Music was the only one who did not decide to appeal this decision. So we applaud you, Apple. We thank you from the music creator community because we understand that Apple has always been one to champion the music community. And so we appreciate that. And those from Spotify, those from, Amazon and the likes, they say that YouTube Music and, Pandora, they just kind of went with it. But it was more so led by Spotify and Amazon. And so, when you look at these young producers, these young songwriters, and they're getting their first big hits, and they're seeing these songs do hundreds of millions of streams, and they're trying to figure out what does that equate to when it comes to, a royalty, and they're still getting, this 0.004, this 0.006, these very small numbers per stream. And a lot of times that is, split upon multiple creators in a single record. You'll realize that money does not add up to be much at all. And so for the National Copyright Royalty Board, for them to raise that, it's going to help those creators be able to sustain a living. And these are the people who are, making some of the best music that we live to, that we dance to, that we love to, all of the things that, make our lives better. So the National Music Publishers Association, they're the ones leading the charge for the songwriters, the producers, artists, and alike. And they're saying that, they're outraged by Spotify and Amazon's new appeals. And it looks like with them doing this, this whole situation can be in jeopardy. But if you listen to the CEO of the National Music Publishers Association in a recent podcast, I'll link that down below. And he talks about just how, Spotify and Amazon are the bad actors. They drove the decision to appeal this ruling. And it's fairly clear to us that Google and Pandora did not want to appeal and are only doing so to protect their interests because Spotify and Amazon objected. So they're giving them a pass. So I want you guys to check out that podcast and understand a little bit more about what's going on in the digital rights space. What's going on with royalties, what's going on with these increases, the Music Modernization Act and the like. Because as we go into a whole new chapter with digital service providers pretty much providing 90 to 100% of all the ways that we listen and download and get our music. Us as creators, we have to be mindful of what's going on so we know what type of positions we play and how can we get involved to make sure that, we're not taken advantage of over and over and over again. I just wanted to make, people understand what's happening right now and understand that if we don't get involved, if we don't, find ways to support those who are supporting us, we'll end up just hurting each other left and right. Just a heads up, I'm going to leave a few links to a few articles. I didn't want to make this long. I just want to give my music creators a heads up on what's happening and understand that we need to get involved and we need to be proactive. And so if you're not involved with, the National Music Publishers Association, if you're not involved with your performing rights organizations like BMI, ASCAP, CSAC, the Recording Academy, and those of the alike, you should probably start looking into it if you're really considering a career in the music business, specifically as a creator. So that's all I got for you today. Links below. I'll leave y'all with more. I'll get y'all with more info coming soon. Talk to y'all soon. Head on out!